Commentary by Xiang Ligang, founder of Ligang Technology Watch, published on November 5, 2025. Xiang Ligang begins by pointing out that rare earth elements as a strategic resource have become a powerful tool in the competition for global influence. He says that China's decision to strengthen control over rare earths is not a temporary move, but a long-term strategic choice. This trend, he stresses, will not be reversed. It is impossible for rare earth mining and exports to be left completely unregulated or unmanaged. He continues by noting that on the Internet, there are some extreme voices calling for a total blockade on rare earth exports, arguing that not even a single gram should be allowed to flow overseas. Xiang Ligang firmly rejects this view. He believes that such an approach is both impractical and irrational. China's rare earth policy, he explains, must be both firm and flexible, tightened when necessary, relaxed when appropriate. What must be controlled should be tightly controlled, but what should be exported must still be exported. He elaborates that the term rare earths actually covers a wide range of elements, and the world's demand for them is enormous. In 2024, China exported about 55,000 tons of rare earths. If China were to reduce that by just 1/3, the impact on global manufacturing and production would already be immense. Therefore, it is unrealistic to imagine a situation in which China completely halts all rare earth exports. Such a scenario would not only disrupt the global industrial chain, but also hurt China's own economic interests. As a responsible major power, China bears a shared responsibility for the development of the world economy. The stability and growth of other economies also create opportunities for China's own progress. If China were to refuse to export any rare earths at all, aside from certain military or security considerations, the consequences would be severe. It would strike a heavy blow to global industries, and ultimately it would harm China's own economy. That is why maintaining a reasonable level of exports is both necessary and beneficial. Xiang Ligang then emphasizes that China is not the only country in the world that possesses rare earth resources. It is true that China's known reserves account for a large share of global totals, but that also reflects the effort China has invested in exploration and geological surveys. Other countries, by contrast, have not carried out such extensive exploration, which is one reason why their proven reserves appear smaller. If they were to invest more in exploration, they would likely find much more. When it comes to refining technology, China currently leads the world. This advantage, he notes, is due to China's strong research capacity, its early start, and its large-scale industrial application. But this does not mean other countries will never catch up. If one day they find themselves unable to purchase refined rare earth products from China, they will surely develop their own refining industries, no matter how high the cost. Given sufficient time and investment, they will eventually make breakthroughs. In this world, there is no technology that others cannot learn. Therefore, Xiang Ligang stresses, China's control over rare earths must be both strategic and skillful. On one hand, the country must strictly manage how rare earths are mined, processed, and exported, especially to prevent unrestricted flow into military industries. For certain countries and companies, China should impose precise controls to limit their development and to create real challenges for their manufacturing sectors. On the other hand, China should maintain a steady level of exports, ensuring that foreign industries remain dependent but unable to build a fully independent supply chain. He explains that if China completely cuts off exports, foreign countries will have no choice but to invest heavily in their own rare earth industries. Once they realize they cannot buy what they need, they will accept even very high costs. In contrast, if China alternates between tightening and loosening its controls, those foreign projects will never be able to stabilize. When China restricts supply, they rush to invest. When supply relaxes, prices fall, and their new factories collapse under financial pressure. In this way, China can use rare earth control as a powerful strategic tool. Xiang Ligang concludes that rare earth control is not a simple matter of yes or no. It requires precision, judgment, and long-term vision. China must understand the global situation and adjust policies accordingly. This is not about an absolute embargo, nor about free and unlimited exports. Rather, it is about managing the global market intelligently, keeping competitors dependent while making it impossible for them to establish their own sustainable industries. In the years ahead, China will neither completely stop exporting rare earths nor allow unregulated exports. Instead, rare earth management will remain a carefully balanced, flexible strategy. After the commentary was published, it quickly drew wide attention online, with thousands of comments reflecting different viewpoints. Many netizens strongly supported Xiang Ligang's stance. One commenter, who identified himself as a retired engineer from a state-owned mining company, wrote that China must master the rhythm of control, neither blocking the door nor leaving it wide open. Another user, who claimed to work in the rare earth supply chain, agreed, saying that smart management means using exports as a lever of influence rather than a gift to others. Some readers expressed deep national pride. A commenter using the nickname Long Marcher said that China's ability to dominate the rare earth industry is the result of decades of patience and strategic vision, and this achievement must not be squandered by emotional or short-term decisions. Another user said proudly that rare earths have become a card China can play to protect its own interests and to make the world respect its industrial strength. However, there were also cautious voices. One entrepreneur commented that excessive control might unintentionally harm China's own high-tech industries, which also depend on stable access to rare earth materials. Another netizen warned that if restrictions become too harsh, they could push Western governments to accelerate their own mining and refining efforts, potentially causing new environmental damage abroad. Several thoughtful comments discussed the geopolitical dimension. A user claiming to be a researcher in international trade wrote that rare earth policy should be treated as a diplomatic tool, a way to balance power and interests without triggering confrontation. Another user compared China's position in rare earths to the West's control of semiconductors, arguing that both sides are learning to use supply chains as strategic weapons. Some commenters focused on strategy. One netizen remarked that the key is not to block exports entirely, but to make foreign manufacturers depend on China's industrial standards and processing capacity. Once they are tied into China's industrial ecosystem, he said, their dependence will become long-term and structural. Another reader commented that the true power of control lies not in embargoes, but in setting the global rules of production and pricing. Others echoed Xiang Ligang's idea that the world is not black and white. A commenter summarized it vividly: the goal is not to close the door, it's to keep our hand on the doorknob. This line quickly went viral, with many users quoting it as the best metaphor for China's rare earth policy. By the end of the discussion, a general consensus emerged among the online community. Rare earths are not merely minerals or commodities. They are instruments of strategy, diplomacy, and foresight. Managing them with balance, intelligence, and flexibility will shape the world's industrial and political future for decades to come.